And like him, she also came in conflict with the interrogation leaders. And just like Bacchus, she was replaced by General Miller. Could she know something about how interrogation methods developed at Guantanamo could show up in photos from Abu Ghraib in Iraq?
It's not a coincidence. If the request for more aggressive techniques, if the memorandum was forwarded after Bacchus left, then part of the reason he left was because he would have blown the whistle on them. Here's a guy who is trained as a military police officer, knows Geneva Conventions, knows crossing the line, knows the limitations, and is forced to command military police detention operations in Guantanamo Bay that he discovers, or maybe in the process of his assignment there, they determine that Geneva Conventions no longer apply down there.
Have you met him? Have you met Bacchus?
No, I have not. And it's almost eerie how silent he's been, because he was one of the first people I thought about. You know, I'm going to call Bacchus and ask him, what the heck happened down in Guantanamo Bay that made you leave? But he didn't just leave. They said that he got fired, that Miller fired him.
Wait. I mean, suppose that Miller fired first Bacchus and then he fired you. Why do you talk?
Because I didn't sign a non-disclosure statement, number one. And number two, I know the truth. I don't know all of it, obviously, but I know the truth. And I know I didn't know what was going on in cell block 1A and B, and I know that they didn't let me know because they knew I would have screamed about it. And I know that the MPs that were there were directed to do what they did. Now, someone senior to them made them to believe that it was okay. Somebody who claimed to be an interrogator from up there, he said, ma'am, the real purpose of those pictures was to make the interrogations easier. The plan was to show him a photograph and say, you recognize Joe here at the bottom of the pile? He's your friend, right? Start talking, or tomorrow you'll be with him. That kind of technique.
We all agree that we don't feel like we were doing things that we weren't supposed to because we were told to do them. We think everything was justified because we were instructed to do this and to do that.
Any apologies?
Sir, I was a soldier, and if I did wrong, here I am.
Any regrets?
No, ma'am.
Talked to the Secretary of Defense about this morning, by the way. I said, find the truth, and then tell the Iraqi people and the world the truth. We have nothing to hide. We believe in transparency because we're a free society. That's what free societies do.
The actions of the soldiers in those photographs are totally unacceptable and un-American. As the senior official responsible for this department, I intend to take any and all actions as may be needed to find out what happened and to see that appropriate steps are taken.
The investigation went quickly, and the only ones prosecuted were the 7 soldiers pictured in the photos. And then Miller was sent in to clean up after the scandal.
Yes, I would like to personally apologize to the people of Iraq for the actions of the small number of leaders and soldiers who violated our policy and may have committed criminal acts. We are investigating those acts as rapidly as possible and will bring those responsible to the bar of justice.
But according to Karpinski, General Miller had already been in Abu Ghraib earlier, before the pictures of abuse came out. He came from Guantanamo on a secret mission.
General Miller never mentioned it, but we found out later that he actually came on the same plane as Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld. He did this in brief with all of the interrogators and the commander of the Military Intelligence Brigade and General Fast and the people from her staff that were involved in interrogations. And he started out by saying that he was there to assess their operations and to help them to achieve more actionable intelligence. He said, I think you treat the prisoners too well. You're too gentle with them. He said, you really need to treat them like dogs, because if you treat them any better than that, you've effectively lost control of the interrogation. I said, the MPs are not trained to enhance your interrogations. They don't have those skills. They haven't been doing those things. The interrogators are handling in the interrogations exclusively. And he said, I'm going to give them all. I mean, he was waving his hands like this at me, like, this is not your concern. Don't be concerned about this at all. He said, I'm leaving training material. They're going to get all the training and instructions they need. I'm leaving CDs and printed instructions. You don't have to worry about this. And before that meeting was over, he said, with the lessons that they'd learned and their techniques from Guantanamo Bay and in other locations, he was going to Gitmoize Abu Ghraib.
This is the report that General Miller and his 17 experts from Gitmo left after their visit to Abu Ghraib, just 1 month before the scandal broke out. Here you can read his suggestions on how he would like to make the interrogations more effective. For example, he wanted to use the military police, who previously were only used as prison guards, to prepare the prisoners for interrogation. And here is an overhead found in Abu Ghraib that no one wants to take responsibility for, with the interrogation methods. The same methods developed at Guantanamo. And here is Miller being questioned by a senator about his visit to Abu Ghraib before the documents come out.
When you were dispatched by Secretary Cambone and General Boykin to go to Iraq, did they give you any specific instructions about increasing the aggressiveness of interrogations?
Sir, I was tasked to go to conduct assistance visit by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They tasked Southern Command, who then tasked JTF Guantanamo to put the team together.
Did your team specifically brief that these methods could be used in that prison that are contrary to the Geneva Convention?
Sir, no methods contrary to the Geneva Convention were presented any time by the assistance team that I took to CJTF 7.
Everything started to change in interrogations at Abu Ghraib after Miller visited. And he has said, and his defense mechanism is, I was only there to assist. I felt betrayed by the Army. I felt that they were trying to use me as the fall guy, as the scapegoat for this situation, and I felt betrayed by the Army. Those soldiers knew what they were doing. They were following instructions. They were made to believe that those instructions were valid. And I can tell you, I knew what I was doing, but I wasn't involved in interrogations. If I'd been in control of that prison and knew what was going on out there, it wouldn't have gone on out there.
Even though Karpinski and Bacchus lost control, they both kept quiet as the new methods were introduced. Maybe there are no real heroes in this story. Only people with more or less control. And some people who seems to be outside of any control or regulation. When we read the documents, we discover a strange little detail. In the scandal surrounding Abu Ghraib, it's not just soldiers in the investigation. There were also civilians involved in the abuse against prisoners, so-called contractors that for some reason never were brought to trial. But the question is, what exactly is a contractor?
Did you see that?